So, yep, again today with a good friend of mine, a special guest, and we're going to continue our second part of the last trading call. So, Matt, thank you for joining us today, and I can't wait what you got to share today.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Hope you're doing
How are
well,
you?
bro.
Doing well, brother. How are you?
I'm good, bro. Good trading day.
Mm-hmm. Let me share my screen really quick.
Yes, sir. You should be able to share.
All right, you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, what's good, everybody? Imagine you're doing well, having an amazing day, an amazing week. As always, right? Super grateful to be here. So yeah, let's hop right into this. So literally, what I will say is what we went over on the last call is really how I see it, and not even just how I see it. It's kind of just like how it is, you know. Um, so I always say, like, don't take my word for it. Really, just study and backtest and see for yourself, right? Like, you see these things take place. So, kind of just a refresher of what we look for is we look for distribution above highs, especially when it's within a previous area of distribution, right? You look for accumulation below lows, right? But again, it's not getting too married or attached to one side, right? There's a couple of things that we use to help us with direction. And of course, that's, the candle closes, structure, understanding liquidity, imbalances, points of interest, and where you're anticipating that accumulation and that distribution. So, whenever we create a new high, okay, this is the 4 hour, for example. Now, again, I know, let's say this is the higher time frame, any higher time frame. Let's just say it's the daily, and then this is, your 4 hour. Right. So let's say the black is your daily, blue is your 4 hour, or let's say the black is your 4 hour, and the blue is your 1 hour, 15 minute, all that good stuff. So it's understanding, the fractal nature of price action and really understanding that, the higher time frame is key, right? Whenever you're identifying your ranges, like the higher time frame is key. So if this is the previous high here on this range and we close above on, let's say, the daily, this is your previous higher low. So you got to constantly identify that range that you're trading in and understand above these highs, you can see distribution above these highs, right? So here, when you see distribution above the highs, it is on a smaller time frame. So you see high, low, high, you see that distribution here, and it's understanding, okay, if we're above the high, and we just created a new higher high on this higher time frame, this distribution can just be a retracement just to reaccumulate and continue trading to the upside. So this is why your targets are so important. If you know and you see that you're currently in a bullish range overall on the higher time frame, and you approach, a previous area of distribution, some imbalance, you swept some liquidity, and you see distribution above the high, right? There's two things it's very important to be aware of is the areas you're approaching on the left side of the chart and what's happening right now currently based off of that current range. So if you see that, you are approaching a previous area of distribution that hasn't been mitigated out of yet, you're trading above a high, and you just created a new high, then yes, you could anticipate some distribution to take place. And if you are playing the distribution above the highs and you're playing the shorts, it's important to see whenever that distribution is taking place, that current range that just got created on the higher time frame. Because again, remember, throughout the expansion, all of these lows are considered liquidity. So it's understanding that price can just be distributing above the high to create a retracement just to sweep this internal liquidity, just to reaccumulate, and then continue trading to the upside for the next expansion. So for me, whenever price creates a new high and I see it approach the previous area of distribution and it starts to distribute above the high, my target is always at least 50% of that previous expansion, because I understand, okay, price could be in a premium going back into a discount just to reaccumulate and continue trading to the upside. So you want to be able to identify lows, but really you want to look for some imbalance that is around that, that 50%. That's a ideal target. Now, again, price doesn't have to, reaccumulate and continue trading to the upside. Obviously, if it distributes above these highs, it can just continue to sell off. And that's the thing, right? Is never really know if it's going to reaccumulate here and trade to the upside or if it's going to continue selling off, right? At least I never do. So that's why I target this, right? Your first target is so important. Target this area. And if it does reaccumulate, then you definitely want to be a part of the longs to the upside, right? No vice versa, right? Again, whenever price is bearish and it creates a low, again, if this is the black line is a higher time frame, blue line is a smaller time frame, we can start to anticipate accumulation below these lows. Now, again, especially if it's within a previous area of accumulation that hasn't been traded into, that hasn't been mitigated out of, you can start to anticipate accumulation below these lows. Now, again, it's understanding this expansion just took place. So overall, your range is this low and this high. So price can just be accumulating, right, to retrace, just to redistribute and continue trading to the downside. So understanding throughout this entire expansion, all of these highs are considered liquidity, right, internal liquidity. So price can just be accumulating to retrace, sweep that internal liquidity, mitigate out of some imbalances, just to redistribute and continue trading to the downside. So again, this is how you play ping pong, I guess you could say. It's like being able to play both sides of the markets, understanding that, this is what the banks are doing, like they're hedging, they're buying to sell, and really seeing it as simple as that, is this is sell to buy, right? Buy to sell. And really understanding, okay, if I'm playing accumulation below the lows and the overall higher time frame range is still bearish, your target wants to be around that 50% of that previous expansion, wherever that imbalance begins, right? You want to target the imbalance whenever it's accumulating below the lows. And if there's imbalance around that 50% of that expansion, ideally that's where you want to target longs, or at least pay yourself, because it can just redistribute and continue to the downside. And if it doesn't redistribute and keeps trading to the upside, well, hey, you're already in it, or you already paid yourself. You're never really gonna, exits and stuff, like, you'll exit trades and it'll keep going in the direction that you were in, and that's fine. You got to be okay. I guess gratitude is really the answer to fixing that. It's, you just got to be grateful for, like, what you were able to pay yourself. If price just keeps trading in that direction after you exit, and that's why your exits are more important than your entries, right? Like, you got to be okay with, not even being okay with it. You got to follow a strict specific rules, so that's why, for me, it's whenever my 1 to 3 is hit, I'm 80% out of the trade. And then whenever the 1 to 5 is hit, I'm 10% more out of it. And then once it hits that 1 to 10, I'm pretty much mostly out of the trade completely. So you got to have exits, you got to have a step-by-step exit strategy on how you do that. So yeah, this is why we say higher time frames trump smaller time frames, because you got to understand, okay, if the higher time frame just closed below, many times traders will see a break of structure, be like, oh, I'm going to target way the hell up here, but the overall range is still bearish. This could just be a retracement to continue to the downside. So that's that. So here, for example, right, we traded above this high. Okay, we created a new high. This is the 4-hour. So we create higher high. We retraced, created a new high. So we created a new high. We could go on a smaller time frame and see if we get some distribution above these highs, right? So what do we see? Above these highs, we get that high, higher low, higher high. We ended up breaking structure here above the high. Whoa. Ended up breaking structure above this high. So then we see what? Okay, overall range, you have this low to this high. So 50% is here. So it makes sense to target, this low. Why is this right here? Close up. Okay. So again, 50% of this range below here. Okay, what do we see? Okay, we see some imbalance around that 50%. So that's an ideal target for shorts if we're playing distribution above the highs. What do we see? Again, distribution above the high. We break structure. We start to retrace. What do we see in here? Of course, you see all that imbalance. Price retraces in a bullish counter trend. You see high, higher low, higher high. Again, price created a new high. It's in a previous area of distribution. So what can you do? You could go on a smaller time frame. Okay. So what do we see in here? You see that evidence of distribution. Price comes back into that area. And boom. Gave you evidence of redistribution. So you could have played it here. Stop above that high and targeted this imbalance. It's about a 1 to 6. Or you could have waited for this. High, higher low, higher high. Because now this is your previous area of distribution. And again, what do you see here? Tons of liquidity building up, right? All that trend line bars. And then you see evidence of redistribution here. Higher high, higher low, higher high. What do we do? Again, we swept this liquidity. You get that evidence of redistribution here. And there's another entry, right? Either you wait for this, or you play both, or you play one or the other. Stop above that high. You could even have your stop above the original high if you want to be more conservative. And again, that's minimum target should be a 1 to 3 minimum. Why do we go for a 1 to 3 minimum? Well, because you could literally lose 70, 80% of your trades and still be profitable, so that's exactly why. But yeah, so this is your distribution above the highs. Price comes back into that previous area of distribution, gives you more evidence of redistribution, comes into this previous area of distribution, and gives you more evidence of redistribution. So again, you want to see it aligning multiple times. That's what's going to give you more confluence, which is more evidence that price wants to do that. And again, you see all this liquidity. You have your target in mind, so you can play it here, wait for the evidence there. Boom. Just target that imbalance and just enjoy the ride, and it went. So that was a nice trade, of course, playing it there. But really, I'll
Got a
show
question,
you.
bro.
Yeah.
So since we had this huge crush of 900 points on the Dow, for example, and if we go on the higher time frame, like the 4-hour, we see we're back in, or daily even, like we're back in the range of where the market was consolidating or building up a lot of liquidity at the downside for same price level where we at right now, like from the 21st till start of January. Do you think after such a big push that it's most likely before it will reaccumulate again, take out this whole liquidity that we got sitting there, or what's your thought on that? You just zoom out the time frames and basically do the same thing again?
Yeah, because overall, what did we just do, right? We swept these lows. We traded into this imbalance, right? So we swept these lows, traded into this imbalance. Right, we have this entire push down, right, which is that previous area of accumulation. Price traded below these lows, so we can anticipate accumulation below these lows, All right, what do we get? Okay, below this low, what can we look for below this low, right? This is how fractal it is, right? We created this low, and look at, notice how we quote unquote broke structure above this high, but really that was just a liquidity sweep, to redistribute and continue selling off to the downside. So whenever price created this low, what can we look for below this low? Since we're in a previous area of accumulation that hasn't been mitigated out of it, we can look for accumulation below this low. So we got that, all right? We got your break of structure here. Price came back, it gave you more evidence of reaccumulation here. And then boom, okay. Current range on the weekly, right, was lower low, lower high. Same thing on the monthly, right? It was lower low, lower high. So this you could consider a break of structure. Now, what we see though is we traded above this major high here. So what do we look for above previous highs? We look for distribution above highs. And we're aware that the current range is this high and this low. So price could potentially come in to sweep this low, right? If we measure this range from this low to this high, that low is around 50%. So we could be retracing below this low around 50% just to reaccumulate somewhere in here to continue trading to the upside. But since we are above that range of the 50%, it's ideal, again, the price scale, right? We're above that 50%. We're looking for a distribution. So since we're above that and we're above this high, we're anticipating distribution above this high. So once we traded above this high, what adds more confluence to where we are? Okay, previous area of distribution that hasn't been mitigated out of it. We have this imbalance right here. You have this previous area of distribution right here that swept this liquidity before selling off. We're above these highs. And then what do we get above these highs? High, low, high, broke structure, came back, swept this liquidity. So you have this entire push up, right? This entire push up that swept this high prior to this huge sell off. We left behind this imbalance, all that good stuff. So down here below this low, we came into a previous area of accumulation and we accumulated. And we ended up coming all the way back in to this previous area of distribution, right? This entire push up that swept this liquidity before selling off. So this is a previous area of distribution, and this entire area hadn't been mitigated out of it. So of course you see this beautiful accumulation here, lower low, lower high, lower low, broke structure, reaccumulated, distributed above this high. That was your higher high, higher low, came back in, swept these lows, reaccumulated, high, higher low, created that high, higher low, higher high. So again, this being a previous area of distribution, we anticipate distribution above the highs. And here we were still bullish, higher high, higher low. So at this point, again, just like we went over, we anticipate distribution above the highs. And we got it, right? We got that distribution above the highs. We came back up, right? We redistributed on the smaller time frame. Even here, you see higher high, higher low, higher high. Again, that 15-minute distribution and redistribution influenced that 1 hour break. So here is very interesting, right? And again, this was a trade that we played. So here, what do we create? We created a new range. After we got to close below this low, it became lower low, lower high. So this entire push up became that previous area of distribution. Technically, the 4 hour was still bullish, but the fact that we're so high up and we're in a previous area of distribution, we're anticipating evidence of distribution within that. So again, lower low, lower high, and we had this lower low and this lower high. So the current range was this at this point, lower low, lower high. So at this point, we see that it's in what's called a bearish counter trend, right? If this is the bullish range from higher high and higher low, and below 50% is below this low, well, I understand that price can still be distributing above this high just to, trade into this area. And if it reaccumulates and trades higher, then that's what it does. But here, we see we're still in a bearish counter trend above this high. We're still above that 50% of this range. So we see lower low, lower high, right? So everything in between, right? Remember what we just went over, higher time frame, looks like this, right? But in between, there's all that liquidity. So what do we see here? We see these relatively equal highs, which are targets, right? Equal highs and lows are targets, not opportunities. So we see this liquidity right here. That liquidity gets swept. So again, if we're overall bearish and we retrace into that previous area of distribution and sweep that internal liquidity, what are we anticipating? We're anticipating evidence of what within this previous area of distribution?
Distribution.
Exactly. More evidence of redistribution, right? So
I'm sorry, man.
Wow.
You
so
said equal highs were targets and not opportunities, so they're not opportunities for entries, you're saying?
yeah, they're targets, not opportunities. Because you have to really think like what is the obvious place? Like what do most people trade, right? Like most people want to, make money and stuff. So it's like, information is controlled. People who control the information, control the world, control the markets, all that stuff, the search engines. So all this stuff is like, oh, people want to trade double tops, double bottoms. So, on an institutional level, it's, in order for certain positions to be filled, liquidity needs to be generated. Meaning, if so many people are selling here, and they're placing their stop losses above that high, whenever they get taken out, they're giving up their position to someone on the opposite side. Vice versa, there's buy stops here, which are people who believe once price crosses that, it's going to keep going. So what happens is you'll see areas of liquidity, which are, again, if people are, liquidity is really just money, right? And you want to look for those areas of liquidity at obvious highs, at obvious lows. Like every single area in the market technically is liquidity, and you really just gotta back test it and see. Again, notice how price will sweep lows and trade to the upside, or how it'll sweep highs and trade to the downside. That's
I
really what we're
understand
looking
the
at.
principle and how they need to fill limit orders. But the question was more, I meant it more like, you always only take profits on equal highs or lows, or do you also enter trades when you see liquidity grabs?
No, yeah, entries for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so that's why we're seeing this current range is bearish, right? We understood that this current counter trend is bearish, this low, this high, and we identified this liquidity within that range, these highs. So whenever price retraced at the open and it swept these relatively equal highs and came into this previous area of distribution that hadn't been mitigated out of it, we were anticipating distribution above these highs within this previous area of distribution because the current range was bearish, lower low, lower high. So price traded above those highs, and this is where we were. Once price traded above those highs, you see high, low, high, low, high. We got that break of structure, and I mean that's pretty much where we got in. Right there. Yeah, we're still targeting that imbalance, right? So to that
How
low.
long did you ride it? How long did you ride that wave? Or do you really have an exit strategy for you get out at your 1 to 10, like you said, completely like 80% at 1 to 3, and then just take it out? Or do you leave one part of the trade running till infinity something? Or
No, that's exactly how I have it. So it really just depends. Like for me, I'm always, no matter what, once my trade hits a 1 to 3, I'm 80% out. Once it hits 1 to 5, I'll take another 10% off.
Mhm.
And then once it hits that 1 to 10, it really just depends if I close the whole thing or I close, 5% of that because I mean as you can see this thing just kept shitting.
Yeah, it's like we were looking at it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like this was
Even 5% is on a 1 to 43. It's pretty
yeah, that's what
crazy.
I'm saying. Like it compounds like after a while. So I definitely love to leave runners. Like, it just
Okay.
adds up and compounds. So it really just depends where price is at on the higher time frame. Since we were in a previous area of distribution, but for me, like once it came into this imbalance and hit that 1 to 10, I just closed the entire trade, you know, so like I didn't
Yeah.
catch the whole move.
And it's fine.
Yeah, you know, like I didn't catch the move, and I mean the whole move. But what I was anticipating, and by the way, like, you know, I mean, Chris, I think you were there, but yeah, like this was shared live, you know, like this isn't
Yeah,
hindsight. This is a
I
real
missed it, bro.
Yeah, this is a real trade that like we were watching live, and like, you know, when it was happening, we executed it, and that's what happened. But here, once again, like this is a previous area of accumulation. We're anticipating it to see if it reaccumulates. No evidence, right? And you see here, it gave another opportunity. So clean. One of the mottos we have is price never leaves without you. Look at this. Just identify the new range. That's it. Price swept that liquidity. It created a new low. So this is your previous lower high. And what is this? This is your previous area of distribution, right? And then you have this imbalance right here. I mean, you know, maybe you just like pulled the trigger here, stop above that high, and based off of this price action, you know, you targeted this imbalance here for about a 1 to 3, or you just rocked it, you know. But yeah, I mean that's
So basically for re-entries, you just look at the range and kind of base it off the imbalance in the 50%. Doesn't matter what's happening. Like if you're just like, if it doesn't show different signs of accumulation or distribution to break the structure, you just look for the range and see what it does in that area.
Yeah, you wait for it to retrace, and you see here it did the same thing. It generated liquidity. It swept the highs. So this is your type 2 distribution. It swept the highs. You know, it did fail to create a high, distributed here, and then it retraced lower low, lower high, and it redistributed right there. So that was another entry. Boom. And that's how you could really, you know, minimizing your stop loss. It just allows you to increase your reward potential. But yeah, so again, there was no buy, you know, we weren't buying right here anywhere in here because there was no evidence, right? Like there was none. Like it created equal lows, you know, and if you see equal lows and then you see a break of structure happen, like stay away, you know, like it's a trap, you know, like that's inducing people with the double bottom, oh, break a structure, and then boom, you know, it gets fucked. So it's like here you see again constantly identifying that range because you could play a nice move like this: low, lower, high, lower, low, closed above, came back, it created a new high. Your target when you're going long is a new high. So look at what happened after that high got created. It distributed, and then it created this low, and then it created a new range: lower, low, lower, high. Look at that, came back into it, and then it just, you know, redistributed. Now for me personally, because what that influenced, right, is understanding, okay, smaller time frame breaks influence higher time frame breaks, or they can. So here, once we swept this high, distributed, we continue to the downside. Again, this was higher high, higher low. Now we got our break of structure, right? This is your distribution on that 4 hour. So once this happened, I mean, I was personally looking in this imbalance, right? This entire push up. And yeah, look at it. Liquidity got swept. We got the entire push up before it broke structure, left behind this imbalance. And me personally, I was waiting for this, you know? I was like, yo, like, if it comes into here and it distributes, I'm gonna short the hell out of it, you know, target these lows in this area here. But it didn't really trade all the way into it. And that's something you really want to note is a lot of times it'll barely sweep that high, like barely into the imbalance. So yeah, like I personally didn't catch this, the second move, but you know, it's all good. Like, you know, one move like this, like you take one good trade a week, you're chilling. You know, you're trading funded account of whatever size, like, you know, it's cool. You know, obviously, you know, me, I'm mostly trading almost every day. So you don't have to trade every day though, is what I'm saying. Like you really don't. It's okay. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
I said I call it quits for the week too. I'm up
mhm,
I'm up for where from where I started, almost 2%. So
nice. That's really good. Yeah, I'm a
yeah.
yeah, that's really good. But yeah, and then I mean we just kept dumping. So to answer your question about the higher time frame, right? Is okay, so we closed above this high, we distributed, and then this here is a previous area of accumulation. So it's like, okay, we could potentially accumulate from here, but noticing this imbalance and this entire push up, if we retrace, again, seeing this range from this high to this low, anywhere above that 50%, and we see evidence of distribution, then I would be targeting lower prices, you know. But until then, it's like, I mean, we're still bearish.
So it's basically like waiting for the week to end and see if we close below the lows, um, to really see if we swept liquidity, and then just wait for either accumulation, like a buy to sell, then later on, basically,
Yeah,
right?
like these relatively equal lows here get my attention. Yeah, if we
Mm-hmm.
trade below these lows and accumulate, then yeah, we could target some of this imbalance. But I mean,
Yeah.
this thing's just been
So it's
dumped.
basically like, just to kind of maybe simplify it, it's basically just looking between the ranges. Where did was liquidity before? Where is maybe internal liquidity, and then just waiting for one piece of evidence to show, okay, we're shifting now the sentiment, and then just executing it, right? And then you just go down time frame to time frame, like lower time frame, to get like your best risk to reward kind of entry, right? Or do you base off your entries sometimes on like the 1 hour, 4 hour? Because I know you guys trade on 15 seconds a lot.
No, I'm always on the smaller time frame for my entries. So I'm gonna give you literally the formula, like to in the simplest terms possible. Like this is literally it. Okay. So you want to identify previous areas of liquidity that got swept, right? That created an impulsive move into the opposite direction after that liquidity got swept, that left behind imbalance. All right, so you want to pay attention to areas of liquidity that got swept, that created an impulsive move into the opposite direction of that liquidity being swept, that left behind imbalance. All right.
So right, that push that happened yesterday, because I mean, even if it touches just a little bit above the high, it's the liquidity sweep, right? Like, so the 18th, when it swept the liquidity of beginning, yeah, right, that candle, like the doji right next to it,
Well,
like
that's
it's,
the interesting thing. On some brokers, it did sweep it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like on my broker, like on 8 cap, it swept it.
mm-hmm. Oh, wait, let me continue with because that's the first part,
Yeah.
right? So you want to identify previous areas of liquidity that got swept, that created an impulsive move in the opposite direction and left behind imbalance. And you want to anticipate price to trade into these areas, and you wait for smaller time frame evidence of either accumulation or distribution, right? So wait for smaller time frame evidence. So whenever you see, an area like, for example, this high got swept, that's your entire push up that swept liquidity, and it created this impulsive move, which created that break of structure. It left behind imbalance, right? So you're gonna wait for price to retrace back into this area, show you evidence of distribution on a smaller time frame, and then you play it, right? So that's as simple as I can put it. Is you're just looking for areas of liquidity to get swept, looking for distribution above highs, looking for accumulation below lows, right? Looking for areas of liquidity to get swept, impulsive move in the opposite direction, wait for it to come back, and show you that evidence of reaccumulation, right? So you want to look for that. But yeah, you don't want to like make it more complicated than that, like you want to, like, I feel like a lot of times, like simplicity, I feel like simplicity is kind of like it's overlooked, it's like secret. Like it's like, oh, but there's more, there's more. It's like, no, it's, you got to keep it as simple as possible. Like, because trading is mostly, it's managing your thoughts and your emotions. And this is really the real key secret to your results in anything really, or your experience overall, is because you could trade anything. Like, I'm not saying like this is the only way to trade. I know people who trade, you know so many different ways, and they're successful. And I truly believe that success in anything, and I'm sure everyone here truly believes in this as well, especially like you're with Chris. Like it's really 99% of success is spiritual. It's all the spiritual side of success. It's the energy you're moving with, it's the frequency, it's the vibration that you're in. And it's really understanding that your self-image, and the beliefs that you have in your subconscious mind, whatever you truly believe about yourself and your worthiness, and how easy or hard certain things are to do, like that's really what creates your reality. So it's truly understanding the power of yourself and how you create. Like whatever you say after I am is truly what you become. If you say I am this, I am that, like you truly believe that. So you got to really be careful like what it is that you say about yourself. And really understanding how powerful it is to say empowering things about yourself to yourself, like, oh, I'm getting this, oh, I'm getting better, oh, I'm improving. Most of the time most people are like, oh, like, and they're always focused on the struggle, they're always focused on, oh, I'm this, I'm that. And they're just constantly reaffirming the struggle, and they continuously experience that loop of the struggle, of wondering why they're experiencing the same thing. It's because they're creating a resistance for something that they want. And creating, feeling like you really want something, it really acknowledges the fact that you don't have it, right? So it creates a vibration of lack and resistance towards something that you want, because you feel like it's so hard to get, when in reality, whatever you think and feel, that is exactly what you attract. So it's all about the transmutation cycle, right? It's the things that you're thinking about, the ideas that you're entertaining, that's what truly determines how you feel. And your thoughts and your feelings is what creates the vibration that you're in. And based off the vibration that you're in, anything you do is moving with that energy. So just imagine your thoughts and feelings create a vibration, with the ideas you're entertaining influence the way that you feel. And then based off of that, you create a vibration, you create an energy. Now, everybody does things, but everybody does things a certain way. So this is why, certain people experience certain things, because they're moving with a certain energy, based off of the thoughts and ideas you're entertaining, you're going to feel a certain way. And how you do certain things is based off of that energy that you're moving with. So based off of the things that we do, doesn't matter what we do, it's the energy we're moving with that creates that experience. So thoughts, feelings, actions, that's what creates results. And most people are going throughout life focusing on their results, and they allow their results to determine the way they think, which again, most people's results are not the results that they want. So they're constantly focused on things they don't have, which leads them to feel, a certain way. It continues to lead them to do the same things as if, they're still in that struggle. So I feel like one of the, really empowering things to truly believe in, of course, is yourself, and to really see yourself as if you are, this successful trader, or, person, or what leader, or whatever it is that, you want to do. If you study Bob Proctor, Kevin Trudeau, Napoleon Hill, like all these people, like, personal development really is a huge key. They say personal development, your income will not far exceed your level of personal development. And so a powerful thing someone told me one time is, if you understand these things, if you think you know these things, then why don't you have the results that you want? And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, damn, like I've heard these things, but I don't, it's all about increasing our level of awareness. So I truly believe in anything, it's about having goals, right? You have to have a specific goal. You have to be clear on a goal that you have, because they say if you don't have a goal, you're already there. So you got to have goals. And again, if you don't have a goal, you're already there. So you have to, have a specific goal, like a yearly goal, or a massive dream goal. There's different types of goals. There's an A-type goal, which is like a goal that you can do, right? Those, you shouldn't go for those goals because there's no motivation or creativity or inspiration or really meaningful thing behind it. B-type goals are goals that you think you can do, and the C-type goals are like, damn, I have no fucking idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm up for the challenge. Like, let's figure it out. Let's go on this journey. And that's really where the fun's at, is in figuring it out and the experiences along the way. So you could reverse engineer it, right? Ask yourself, like, what do you need? What are the next logical steps? And again, going back to how 99% of success is created in the spiritual side, based off of your frequency, your energy, and your vibration that you're in, understanding that whatever you say after I am is who you are, is what you become, and whatever you think and feel is what you attract. Like, whatever you think and feel is what you attract. You are, we're made up of electromagnetic frequencies, and everything in this world is consistent of electromagnetic frequencies. Like, just the nature of the universe is like we're connected to everything. So, and you could literally, you could look all these things up, right? You don't have to take my word for it. But truly understanding that is, there's powerful things you could do when you start your day. And you don't have to do these things, but yeah, there's just things that really help, and I would say contribute to a lot of successful people's success. Not, you don't have to do this. I'm just saying, it works for some, and some people don't do it and they still become successful. But and for me, I truly believe success in trading is a lot about increasing our level of awareness. So, first thing whenever you wake up, it's not just about, like I, most people, they just wake up, go straight on their phone, go to Instagram, like email, I don't know, message your girlfriend, whatever, um, or just first thing when you wake up. Now, this is there's a lot of different like morning routines and stuff, but these are some powerful things to do for your subconscious mind, and really just to prime you for success. Is like the first thing you do when you wake up, right? Don't look at your phone, emails, or anything. The first thing you do when you wake up, write down your goal. The first thing you do when you wake up, because your subconscious mind is the most fertile whenever you wake up, right? It's the most malleable. It's the most fertile whenever you wake up. You're still in that state with those certain brainwaves. So here, write in the present tense. The first thing you do when you wake up, write down your goal in the present tense. Like, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm making X amount a month. I'm this, I'm that. Whatever your goal is, right? Write it down in the present tense, because this is how you build belief, right? Again, because in the morning, your subconscious mind is the most fertile. And again, if it's the most fertile in the morning, right when you wake up, wouldn't you want to implant all of the, beautiful and abundant things, right when you wake up? Like, it just makes the most sense. Like, how you start your day is, you want to implant all of those things, right? Those beautiful things that you have in your life that you see for yourself. So again, you write the goal down 5 times, right? And speak the goal, because hearing, speaking, and seeing is literally how you build belief, right? And it's programming our mind, right? So we program our mind to see, hear, and speak our goals all the time. That's like, you should be obsessed with your goals, thinking about them all the time. Like, that's what's on your mind, like, as you're doing things throughout the day. Or else, just someone who's just not going anywhere. Like, I don't know how else to put it, So it's like, whenever you have goals, like, you're obviously moving and you're progressing, towards that. So hearing, speaking, and seeing is how you build belief. So that's why you write it down, you speak it, you see it, all of these things. That's how you build belief. That's how you program your mind. And literally, by law, it must happen. So another thing you could do is again, a lot of this stuff, it doesn't take too much time. I want to make it clear. This isn't no like 3 hour like routine stuff. Like, no, this stuff takes a few minutes. Like it's you could do it so quick, you know? So close your eyes and use visualization. Like the images you create when you close your eyes, you're creating with your thoughts and your feelings, right? So again, whatever ideas you're entertaining, you're going to get emotionally involved with those ideas, and you're visualizing because you're creating your life with the images that you see upon your mind. And again, it's the first thing you do when you wake up, right? Is think about your goals, you write them down, you get emotionally involved with it, you speak it, you hear it, you see it, and you create those images in your mind, right? Or you see it physically. And again, you close your eyes and you get emotionally involved because again, understanding this, now you know that your thoughts create your vibration, right? So you want to create that movie trailer in your mind. Like, you know how there's trailers for movies, like you want to see literally your life, like you want to see it before it plays out. Like, you know, like when we anticipate certain things on the charts and you don't know like how it's going to happen or whatever, but like you're anticipating something because you're confident in it and like it just happens. Like it's the same thing, with life and your goals and all of these things. So you could really, create that movie trailer in your mind and like have you ever like has like watched a movie trailer and you're like, damn, well, I shouldn't have watched the trailer because now I kind of know the movie. Like, shouldn't have watched this. So it's like, well, that's not a bad thing. Whenever you're talking about your goals in your life, you get more familiar with it. So like there's a book called The Happy Pocket Full of Money. It's a good one. But it's really understanding that your images create your reality. And 90% of the thoughts that you had yesterday, you had today. Right. So if that is true, then again, wouldn't you constantly want to be focused on like where you're headed, right? Or your goals. So make a short gratitude list, right? A lot of times, people like they just want something and I feel like you really got to acknowledge like what you really have in your life and what you're grateful for. Because from experience, I feel like you really do lose like what you don't appreciate, like whatever you don't appreciate, like you lose and then you realize like, oh, I should have appreciated that more while it was here. So making a short gratitude list after you write your goals down, after you do visualization, write 5 things down, 5 to 10 things that you're grateful for. You want to get the attachment to the emotion of the thing that you're grateful for, right? Visualize it again, your images are everything. And there's a powerful book I highly recommend. It's called Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And it's just a powerful book, right? So yeah, you want to get an attachment to the emotion of the things that you're grateful for. So whatever it is, whether it's your home, your significant other, your brother, your family, your health, like whatever it is, it could be a different thing every single day. Just the first things that come to your mind, 5 to 10 things. That's it. Right. And then affirmations, right? You want to write your affirmations. I would say like you don't need to write 100 affirmations a day. Like time is important, like all of this stuff shouldn't take hours. Like at least for me, it's like, this stuff doesn't take even close to an hour. Like it's less than that, way less than that. So truly, you could have like one affirmation a week, right? Like you could, maybe you have one affirmation a week and it's like this week, maybe your affirmation is like, I'm a money magnet, or, like I radiate success and, I attract opportunities everywhere I go, or, money flows to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Like, there's so many different types of affirmations you could just have. And you don't need to have 100 of them. You could just have one affirmation, just one, and just focus on that one, right? And write it down 5 times, like whatever it is. Again, you don't need to write down 100 of them. And this is so important, right? So the first thing is, again, right when you wake up, write your goals down, visualize, get emotionally involved. The gratitude list is number 2, affirmation number 3, and number 4, right, is some sort of personal development, right? You need to fill your mind with some sort of personal development, right? Because again, this is me too. I fell victim to this. Is a lot of people stop doing the things that got them to where they're at, which if they kept doing them, it would get them to the next level, right? Because again, what got us here will not be what's going to get us to the next level. But if we stop doing the things that got us here, then how can we possibly expect to keep growing, right? So again, a lot of people stop doing the things that got them to where they're at now, which would get them to the next level also. So you want to be a part of a mastermind, which you're already a part of, right? You're a mastermind, you want to be a part of events, again, guys, if there's events near you, go to these events, network with like-minded individuals. You want to, read books and audios, right? Again, even if you don't want to read books, there's so many audios. So yeah, some sort of personal development. And I know for me, like one of my favorite people to listen to right when I wake up is Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn, Joe Dispenza, people like that. Like it really just constant reminder of who you are, right? So again, this is I don't feel it in this group, but a lot of times people just feel like having an ego, and we all have an ego, right? Ego is important for your success. It helps you grow, and motivation and strong, just willpower, all that stuff. But again, if you've heard these things and think that you know it, then why don't you have the results that you want, right? So that's the question. That's just like the constant thing along the way, right? Because I truly believe the moment we think we know it all, or like we got it, that's where you stop. That's where the growth stops. That's where we stop learning there, we stop growing there. Like there's no more growth from there, because okay, God, the universe, the way it communicates is through energy, frequency, and vibration. So if you truly feel and think that you got it, well, then life's not going to give anything else to you. You're kind of just going to stay there, right? So again, it's about compound interesting our entire life, right? Because again, if we're not doing it every single day, then there's going to be a lag, so we have to keep showing up. So we have to compound interest our entire life, right? Not just our money, like all of these habits. Habits, that's what creates our results. So it creates our experience. And another thing, again, a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes max. Like, ain't no, like, I'm not meditating out here 20. I don't think I've ever meditated for 20 minutes, like 5-10 minutes, just do it, every night, every morning, just a couple of minutes. That's it. Just that stillness, that if you feel like things are going like there's like a lot of stuff going on in your life, I'm telling you, you practice meditation, like breathing exercises, like a Wim Hof breathing, and understanding how literally oxygen, like the absence of oxygen in your body, like, and then like that's how you die, absence of oxygen in your brain. So just imagine when you have more oxygen inside of you and you're doing these breathing exercises, you feel even more alive. It's wild. Like it's literally like the most potent drug in like the world is in the air. You know what I mean? So it's pretty wild. But yeah, so meditation and breathing exercises, and again, it's understanding the transmutation cycle. Is bringing awareness to understanding that your thoughts create your feelings, and your thoughts and feelings determine your actions. It's how you do things, and that creates your results. And your results are a direct reflection of your thoughts and your feelings, right? Because whatever we say after I am, we are, and whatever we think and feel, we attract. So our actions are automatic. It doesn't matter what we do. It's all based off of our thoughts and our feelings, right? Because what we do is automatic, and that creates our results. So again, the level of awareness is really how long we do it for, right? So I truly believe, we're here to increase our level of awareness, and the way we increase our level of awareness of ourself and understanding that we create our results, we create our entire reality, is understanding that the more we do this, the higher level of awareness we have about ourselves, that allows us to become better creators of our life, because we're creators of our reality. Like, we're not, victims. We're not creatures of circumstances. We're actually creating circumstances out here. So again, most people have it backwards, right? And they start with the results and they let the results, dictate their thoughts. Most people are letting the external world control the internal world. They have it backwards. They're allowing the physical to control the spiritual, when it's all about vibration, right? You cannot create effectively when you're in what we call a shitty vibration, right? So we have to feel good. And I think that's really the key here. Is it's so important to just feel good. You want to be in an environment, you want to be around people, you constantly want to just, immerse yourself in this energy of feeling good. You want to feel good, because when you feel good, you create good, right? And truly, it's understanding that however you feel sends out a frequency into the universe, and it brings in situations, circumstances, and opportunities into your life, right? Because you really have to, understanding this is that if you're an electromagnetic being, and however you feel is sending out electromagnetic frequencies into the world, understanding the law of polarity and magnetism, how that works, you're going to attract situations, circumstances, people, and opportunities into your life that are of that like vibration, right? So again, it's many times, a lot of people, especially in trading, they're like, oh, I want to get this, I want to get that, like, I want this, I want to, and it's always about getting something. But in order to get something, you have to make room for it. So before you could even expect to get something new in your life, you have to let go of so many things that are in your life before you could even get those things. So what are some things, right? It's letting go of negative thoughts and feelings in your life, right? It's important to let go of all of the negative emotions, right? Negative energy, in order to step into a better version of yourself. Because truly, in order to attract new things, better things into our life, you need to let go of these things, right? So again, what got us to where we are today is not going to be what's going to get us to where we're going. So again, it's all about increasing our level of awareness. So if you want to scale your business, like I'm telling you, like, if you want to scale your trading results, well, this shit is simple. Like, looking for distribution above the highs and redistribution and pulling the trigger, like, it's simple. What it is, we're the complex things. Like, the reason why trading is hard, for a lot of people, is because you're competing with yourself, right? But again, imagine if you are your own opponent. Again, you're on the same team at the same time. Imagine if the more you understand yourself, the better you can understand how to create better results. Like, that's really the reality of what's going on here. So again, the key to scaling is the law of the lid, right? It's, again, your business, your income, and your growth is capped out with you, right? If you want to make that's that shit goes so far. But we have to grow, right? We have to keep growing. So again, we grow through masterminds, audios, and books. So you have to keep surrounding yourself with people that are growing. If you surround yourself with people that aren't growing and they're just comfortable, then that's your environment. So you have to ask yourself, right? Like, are you actually willing to go to the next level? And you'll get presented opportunities throughout your life that are like, if it is what you say you want, you'll get presented an opportunity and you have a decision. Like, is this what I'm going to do, or is it not what I'm going to do? Maybe there's an event that you should be at because there's going to be people there who have what you want, and maybe it costs a certain amount to go, and you say you really want to go, but then you hear the price and you're like, I don't know if I really want to go. So it's like, again, the way the world responds to us is through our actions, right? Because we're literally like we're so close, 4 centimeters away from a completely different life, right? So a lot of this stuff you hear about the law of attraction and all of that, it's really understanding that you create your own destiny. You're a creator, you're not a victim. And when it comes to, and I don't know if anybody here is building the business like with Chris, or you're mostly just trading and stuff like that, but I'm telling you, most of us out here are not, like, I don't know, like, Like I don't just trade and then just go fuck off. You know, it's like there's so many things that you could do with your time to, you know, create a better life, not just for you, but for other people around you. So that's why networking and, you know, growing your business and grinding, as they say, like that is so key and important, because like that's what keeps you going. You know, that's what brings purpose into your life. And truly, it's, you know, a lot of people are focused like, oh, like I want to be a millionaire, I want this and that. And, you know, it's really about dominating the year, right? Like this is 2023. You know, everyone's saying like, oh, this is my year, all this, all that, right? But how do you truly dominate a year? Right? You do it by dominating 12 months, you know, and how do you dominate 12 months? You dominate 1 month at a time. How do you dominate 1 month? You know, you dominate 4 weeks. How do you dominate 4 weeks? You dominate each week at a time. You know, how do you dominate each week? You dominate 7 days, right? And then you dominate each day at a time. So there has to be an exchange, right? Because in order for us to get something, you have to get something, right? You have to give something. So again, if we have our hand out to life, to God, to, you know, whatever our source is coming from, you know, life also has its hand out to us, right? So again, like life's gonna ask us for things, right? If you really want them. And I'm telling you, like many of us have gone through the phase of waking up and fucking falling asleep at the desk looking at charts. Like it just really depends. Like, you know, the more time you put into things, you kind of, it's whatever you get what you give. Like your outflow equals your inflow. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna put in this much time and expect to get these many results. Like, no, like, you know, you're either obsessed or you're average. Like, you know, there's a difference, you know, between traders and, you know, anybody who's successful in any endeavor. It's like some people are, you know, so fucking obsessed with it that they literally just do it all day, every day. Doesn't mean you need to trade all day, right? Like you should definitely be studying way more than you trade. Like you should be obsessed with it and just studying way more than you trade. Like I'm talking like back testing all day and just studying material and all of this stuff, right? And like it's so important. So I'm gonna leave it with this before, you know, we go. I know I've been here for a little while, but I'm telling you the charts and stuff is pretty simple. And honestly, the last recording that we did and this is like you just gotta keep rinsing and repeating. You know, the thing is you gotta have the patience and the discipline to wait for the markets to present the opportunity. That's the thing, is having the discipline to wait for something that actually makes sense to present itself, and then having, you know, the confidence to pull the trigger once you see it, and then, you know, just have the skill to manage it accordingly, right? And not let your emotions get to you, not make emotional decisions, because that's how you get hurt, right? Is when you make decisions based off of emotion. Your decisions, you know, in trading, in life, and anything, it really has to be based off of principles. You know, you have to base it off of principles because that's based off of sound logic and reasoning. Whenever you base your decisions based off of emotion, there's no sound logic or reasoning there, right? Like, yeah, you could get hurt. You could get hurt doing that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're familiar with the term, you know, a quantum leap, this is really how you create one, right? There's a book called U Squared. I would highly recommend it. It's a tiny ass book. It's literally called U Squared. I would highly recommend to read it. It's a very small book. Bob Proctor said that's like his third favorite book in the entire world. But yeah, it's all about, you know, desire and belief, right? So multiplied by intensity equals a quantum leap. So desire is your goal, right? So how do you build belief, right? You build belief through programming of what you say, see, feel, and hear. Now, a mentor of mine, I'll never forget, he was talking, and, you know, there was a group of us, and he said like, you know, what's your dream car? You know, guys, throw some cars out there. You know, people were like, oh, you know, Bentayga, you know, Rolls Royce, whatever, Ferrari, Lambo, all that stuff, right? And then like that's your goal, that's your dream car, right? And then he asked, how many of you have actually driven that car? And nobody raised their hand. And he said, how the fuck could you possibly desire something? How could you want something that you know you have no idea what it's like? And I was like, damn. So the next day I went and drove my dream car, right? So you have to literally, you have to, you can't just have a goal, you have to build belief for that goal. And you have to program your mind through what you say, what you see, what you feel, and what you hear. So it's literally immersing yourself in that environment as if you already are in that vibration, like you are that person, right? Because the thing is, most people think they need to have something so they can do something and then be something, when in reality you just need to be that person who does the things that person does, and that's exactly how you experience everything that person experiences. So again, it's, if you want to make a lot of money and stuff, you got to surround yourself with people who are making a lot of money. You have to feel as if you are a person who makes a lot of money. You have to say things that a person who makes a lot of money would say. You have to see things a person who makes a lot of money would see. You need to feel things a person who makes a lot of money would feel, and you need to hear things a person with a lot of money would hear, right? So your goal plus your belief multiplied by intensity, which, what is intensity? Intensity is energy. Again, that's how you do something, right? So like if you're building a business or whatever, people are joining you, right? They join your energy. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? So energy equals intensity, and it's really just giving it your all, right? Picking up your energy, posture, right? How you do anything is how you do everything, right? That's a very powerful statement. It's really how you do anything is how you do everything, like only we really know, only you really know what you're doing, like the social media stuff, like, just keep focusing on trading, like whatever is going on in the world, like most of the stuff you see out there is not real. So like just keep focusing on you and your process and your goals and your accountability and your own results, because in reality, like it's hard to tell what's even reality nowadays, right? So you have to just keep focusing on your reality, um, because yeah, like that's really all that matters, because again, only we really know like what we're doing behind closed doors. So it's that level of accountability to where only you and God really know, and no one could do it for us, right? It's all us. So once you really, once the mind stretches and you have that first $1,000 day, or that first 10K a week, or whatever it is, like your mind stretches and it can't go back. Like, and guess what? If you go back, you're gonna be very like uncomfortable there, because you're gonna be like, I don't belong here. Like I know what I can do, I know where I belong, and you're gonna bounce back really quick, right? Because again, losses are inevitable. It's really about how you respond to those things. It's not what happens, it's how you respond to what happens, right? Like everyone, deals with situations and problems, but you got to be a professional problem solver and solution giver, right? Um, like even just like the randomest things, I'm telling you, like out there, like you never know what you do for someone and how much that could really impact them and affect their life. It could be the smallest thing that you think, but it can mean the world to them, right? So don't underestimate that. The energy that you give, right? It's really what you get. So, yeah, just a couple seconds of intense thought is way more powerful than thousands of hours of physical work, because it's more, there's more meaning behind it, and it's more thought out, right? So, Power of Focus and The One Thing, those are two other books I would share. And yeah, what you think you create, so a lot of people think like, oh, I am like, oh, I am like, oh, it's a, oh, affirmations and stuff, but no, it's really like a mantra. It's like like, you're saying like, I understand sound, Sazer technology, sound really manipulates matter, right? Like look up cymatics, like under like sound manipulates matter, water, all this stuff. We're mostly made out of water, and yeah, just look up cymatics, yeah. But yeah, so again, if you've heard all these things and you think you know it, then again you have to ask yourself, why don't you have the results that you want? It's about compounding every aspect of our life, right? So when it comes to oh, you're making all this money, something you can ask yourself, right? If this is what you want to do, is you know, how can you have more impact? You know, because truly for me personally, and I know I speak for a lot of people, it's like without the impact and the fulfillment, you know, money is pretty much irrelevant. You know, you kind of just realize if you start making a certain amount of money, it's like the only things that matter is like, you know, your health and like your family. You know, it's like the only thing that changes is like, oh, I don't need to think twice about if something's needed or if I need to pay for this or I need to pay for that. Like truly, you know, it's like, you know, your family and your health. But again, without impact and fulfillment in your life, the money is pretty much irrelevant. Just like an empty, sad, you know, like trust me, like me and Chris know some people, you know, so it's like you can have all the money in the world, but like if you have no meaning in your life, something worth living for, like it's gonna be a sad life, you know. And I know nobody here lives a sad life or wants to. So it's like continuously asking yourself, how can I have more impact? You know, how can I be, you know, a positive influence and, you know, help in the world, do something, you know, you don't need to post about it or do anything, you know, because again, that's between you and God. So yeah, you know, just create the life you desire because you deserve it. But honestly, I know I went on for a little while, but I just feel like this is like
Bro,
necessary. This is
it's all love, bro. Like really, really appreciate you so much. You know it, but this was amazing value because like like you said, like those two videos are unique basically to really tap into the higher things and then combine it with the live sessions that we have and stuff like that. It's just, bro, like we really appreciate it really, really much. This was some dope value. I'm gonna send you the recording as well.
Mhm.
I'm gonna stop the recording right here.